Okay, so my name is Derek, born and raised in Hong Kong. You can see dressed the way I am. This is what I do for work, and what I have behind me is what I do for fun. Part of my talk is supposed to be talking about how to turn 12 minutes of constraint into 12 minutes of fame. Well, what does that actually mean? We'll get through this presentation, and hopefully you'll know what that means. So I don't think it's working. I'm not gonna talk about this. You guys can read that, and I'll get into the fun stuff. Go. So this is a picture of the Sahara Desert in Egypt. It's 50 degrees Celsius during the day, and it's 37 degrees at night. Can you imagine how hot that is during the day? And at night, it's not any cooler. Imagine running 250 kilometers across the desert, carrying this, your backpack, all your food and equipment in it. That's your clothes, your first aid kit, your food, your compass, your headlamp, all the things that you need to survive every day in the desert while you're running. That's what you need. And just to give you an idea of what that includes, in this pack is everything that I would need to do that. Now in Hong Kong, I run around Hong Kong. We don't have a desert here, so I just run on the road, run around the peak, and in here is a sack of rice, and it's very heavy. I will run with that for 5 days. For 5 hours, running up to the peak or out to the South Bay, out to the islands, and that's my form of training. So when I get out here, when I run the deserts, next please, you can see that this says there's a fundamental difference between astronomers and astronauts. We all have a choice, but you have to decide which one are you. What that means is that we all have a choice in what we want to be. You can live vicariously through other people, or you can experience life through yourself, and not through other people, right? So next slide. Okay, next one. So this is me when I was 10 years old, growing up in Hong Kong. No confidence, didn't really know what to do. I was the smallest kid in class. I got picked on, didn't really have a lot of confidence, and I found my pillar of confidence to be in sports. Next slide, please. But what I always thought about was that, you know what, this is a startup about you. Okay, so we're all like a startup company. We all have to learn about the tools that we learn, the things that we pick up, the knowledge that we picked up, but how do you apply it? How do you apply it to you? How do you apply it to yourself to make yourself a better person, or to make yourself, or to help yourself achieve the goals that you want to achieve? And I had no idea, oh, you went way too fast. Next slide. That I would do 7 deserts in these different places. Next one. 2 jungles and 2 mountains. And that's 11 consecutive years of training. And that's every weekend, putting down the time to go out and do my runs. Next one. Next. So Gobi Desert in China, world's highest desert. Next. The Atacama Desert, the world's driest desert. Next. Sahara Desert in Egypt, that's the world's hottest. Antarctica, that's the world's coldest. By definition, that is also a desert because of little to no precipitation. Hardly ever rains there. Next. And this one, this is crazy. This is the Amazon jungle in Brazil. This is like the worst place you could ever be. Why? Because of all the creepy crawlies, all the bugs, all the snakes, all the spiders, all the mosquitoes, everything that's out there is out to get you. And you can see, no, not yet. You can see this part here. These are these little plastic protectors which I found on the internet to buy to protect myself from snake bites. And this is not a normal piece of equipment. I actually had to think about what I needed to, what types of scenarios I would come across when I was in the jungle. And the great thing here is that in Brazil, obviously not a lot of people speak English, they all speak Portuguese. And when I'm running alongside these other runners, they can never remember my name, right? So they just call me Jackie Chan, right? So And they was like, oh, Jackie Chan, what are you wearing those for? Are you going to go play football, or what are you going to do with these shin protectors? And I was like, oh, this is actually to protect myself from getting bitten by snakes. And the whole crowd got silent. Why? Because when we got up to a place where you can see like this type of stuff where you can't really see where you're going, they would literally stop and go, Jackie Chan, you go first. Next. Next. So a lot of people ask me, well, how do you train in Hong Kong? Fight like you train, train like you fight. And we've been doing this for centuries, right? Train like the gladiators, law enforcement, even UFC, you're always training for that main event. Next slide. This is mini-me, weighs 16 kilograms. There's 2 sacks of rice that go in a backpack. Next slide, please. And this is one lap that I do training around Hong Kong. You're going to have to like flick through these. Causeway Bay, Happy Valley, Wong Nai Chun Gap, Deepwater Bay, all the way out to South Bay. Then we go all the way back. Then we go out to Wong Chuk Hang, Aberdeen, Pak Fu Lam, out to Kane Road, back to Bowen Road, back to Happy Valley, back to Causeway Bay. That's one lap that I do. And next slide. You can see me out here in Deepwater Bay. This is out on the road. And this is at California Fitness on the treadmill. And I've got mini-me there. And a lot of people will look at me funny, and they really don't know what's this guy running with a backpack, right? And one time I'm running, and this gym trainer comes up to me and goes, excuse me, sir, you must be new, but I just want to let you know that we have locker rooms. You don't have to carry your stuff with you. Next slide. Pushing a dead treadmill. I go to India a lot for work. There's power outages all the time. You have to work with the tools that you're given, right? So with power outages, you can't really run on a treadmill when the power gets out because you look like a cartoon character where you could literally slam into the wall. So when I go to India, I don't even bother treading on the treadmill. I just push it. So if you lean hard enough against it and you push, the treadmill will actually keep going. And that's my way of working out. And I've gotten so used to that, sometimes I'll come back to Hong Kong and I'll go on the treadmill in the gym. And of course, we don't have any power outages here, but I'll just push the treadmill, and I'll get a gym trainer that comes up and goes, oh, excuse me, sir, you forgot to turn it on. Next. Next. So I've run over 7,000 kilometers running. Go. To put that in perspective, China is 5,200 kilometers from east to west. Go. But this is what I showed you earlier before, right? But I wanted to show you what it took to accomplish this. Now, initially, next one, this is what you see in terms of all the pain and the misery, the blisters, the bleeding, the sun, the leeches, getting wet, being tired, hot, cold, all of the misery involved, right? Next one. But this is what I wanted to show you, is I've gone through 50 pairs of shoes. Next one. 9 heart rate monitors. I've lost count of how many MP3 players I've gone through just because of the rain and the sweat. But evidently, next slide, my losses were Apple's gains. Next slide. I've consumed a swimming pool of sports drinks. Next. And I can eat whatever I want because I can. Don't be afraid to show it. What I mean by this is Times Square here, and there's me running with Mini-Me. There's always people going to look at you funny, and they're never really going to understand what you do. But you always have to keep that belief of what your goal is and what you set out to be. And I had gone out running all the way out to South Bay, came all the way back, and I finished up right at Times Square. And you know, there's all these taxis that are parked out front, right? And this one taxi driver rolls down the window and goes, hey, you with the backpack. And I was like, oh, me? And he's like, didn't I just see you running all the way out in South Bay? I said, yeah, that was me. He goes, did you not have money? Because I could have given you a free ride back, right? So you just have to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. Next slide, please. Next. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. Next. I tore my Achilles in a game of dodgeball. Complete separation. My calf was up behind my knee. Everybody told me my running career was over. Next. I had surgical reattachment. I had a cast on. I had to wear a special boot. I had to go through rehab. Next. And you know what? I told myself I was just going to keep at it and focus. And the next thing you know, I go out and run the Macau Marathon, finish 42 kilometers. Next one. A few weeks later, you can't see down there, I did the Standard Chartered Marathon, finished that. And then a few months later, I ran 250 kilometers in the Namib Desert in Namibia. Next. My doctor was so happy, he put my name in the hospital brochure. Next slide. So times have changed. Forget about waiting for normal to return. This is the new normal. So whatever's given to you, you just have to adapt to it and keep moving. So next one. If you want to get good at something, if you just repeat it over and over again, it's all about repetition, you will get good at it. At work, this is what I do. I've been doing this day in and day out. I think I've gotten pretty good at my job. Next slide. I'm in the technology area, also in finance though, so I can combine the two together, doing mobile payments. Next slide. I love cooking. Never learned a cooking lesson in my life. My mom never taught me. I taught myself, and these are the creations that I've come up with, and it's all about repetition. The more you repeat something, the better you get at it. Next slide. I want to write books, so why not? Just set a goal, come out and write books. I wrote 2 books, Kwik, which is a motivational book, and The Adventures of Baxter Brave and Tommy the Salami. Next one. Lead by example. Next. This is where you live in your comfort zone, right? But this is where the magic happens. So don't always stay here because you'll never get good at something. You always have to sort of push the envelope, get out past that, and really push yourself to get past that comfort level of what's routine, what is predictable. Next. All right, so this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.